count it all joy, Charles is back online. The Equally Yoked Show. Get yoked for free.
Welcome back to the podcast. We have got such incredible information to go over when it comes to everything that we are seeing in this world. So I want to start with, of course, America. America is one of the, if not the greatest nation in the world. The way that we have begun its sort of founding, the fathers that have established this nation under godly principles. Throughout the history of America, we've seen the sort of Pilgrims and the Jamestown, the Plymouth settlements, these two that sort of battled with each other. At the start of this great nation, we have the Plymouth settlement that went towards more godly values than the Jamestown settlement did. Eventually, coming to a point where we are today, talking about the incredible freedoms that we are able to really live it up, however we so choose. And this could be a dangerous thing, because if we're not taking into consideration that these freedoms that we cherish here in America, they're slipping away in places that we've once admired. Now, UK, of course, this whole thing about the UK, this is what sparked this whole conversation here, is this video that I saw online of a mother whose her daughter's phone was confiscated by two police. I mean, quite a wild scene if you ask me. But UK, to start off with, UK was once the birthplace of free speech principles and is now morphing into a quasi-totalitarian regime. We'll break down some instances in a moment, but let's take a look at this video. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know your thoughts with what is going on here. Now, I do want to mention for the live stream, just for the moment, that if you're just joining me, thanks so much for being here. Please like, share, subscribe. And if you want to support the channel in any way possible, please feel free to give a wonderful donation to us by a super chat. You want to support the channel? That would be absolutely amazing. So, guys, let's take a look at this. This is a confiscated by the British police. And I want to know you guys' thoughts. I want to know you guys' thoughts. Those of you that live in the UK, please chime in. Please chime in. This is very important.
What was it?
Sorry, I don't like the camera. You can have my body cam. I can exhibit that to you. I just don't like the camera, really.
Okay, well, I'm doing this because this is my own house and I am telling you
Right,
why I'm
that's
doing
fine.
So I just need to know why would she's basically viewed a post which is not an arrestable offence.
You just
Yeah.
that's been.
Okay.
It happened in May, and you're completely fine. The only thing is,
Yeah.
we need to seize the phone at this current moment.
Yeah.
I'm say to you. The phone needs to get seized from us, otherwise we will escalate this further. So,
But with a voluntary interview.
So have you seized anyone else? Is she the only child you're
with
picking
the
on?
voluntary interview, you'd be able to come in
Have
with
you
your
spoken
daughter
to
and
anyone
the chief
else?
solicitor,
No,
but
we'll
because
come
there's no
to the
arrest.
station now.
do you mind letting her finish her sentence before?
Yeah.
It does have to get further escalation, unfortunately.
That's fine. We'll come to the
No,
station now.
you're not under-
the phone isn't seized right now, and we're not able to basically get the phone. We'd have to escalate this further,
Yeah.
which means your daughter will get arrested.
For what?
And then
Viewing a
only-
social media post? Is
I
that?
need to go with
Yeah.
that in order to.
No,
get the phone.
absolutely
What
not.
can we do to
That's what's to happen, Lisa. I'm
prevent
sorry.
destruction of evidence?
So just to catch you up here for a moment, just so you know, of course, according to the little description here, you can see that this they're attempting to confiscate a phone of a little girl who was viewing a social media post. Now, this is actually something that they wanted to enact in California in a sense where they want to attack or they want to make sure that social media platforms are their algorithms or their systems to be able to not push certain information out, and that they would indeed be fined if they end up putting something out in front of the viewer that is something of hate speech or you name it. We've gone over this bill. This is SB 771. You can look it up for yourself. Bree, you say, I wish every American would understand what could happen. I'm honestly so thankful that Kamala Harris did not become president. I think we need to just reflect on that for a moment, because we could have been in a position like this in America.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Lisa.
That's fine. I would like you to leave now. I'd like you to leave.
This is why you're
Okay, I have nothing more to say to you. A social media post. I've got nothing more to say. I'd like you to leave. You've harassed this child enough. I'd like you to leave.
Lisa, that's no worries.
Okay.
I mean, absolutely wild what we're seeing here. This is what's happening in the British, in the UK. Now, as I mentioned, several instances that we can look at this is Graham Linehan arrested, a renowned British comedian detained over social media posts discussing transgender issues. Yes, he was arrested for words. Lucy Connolly, a British woman sentenced to 31 months in prison for a controversial tweet. Regardless of what she said, do we really want the government deciding what opinions deserve jail time? So the legal framework that UK's speech laws are riddled with vague terms like grossly offensive and harassment, weaponized to stifle dissent. Nigel Farage outcry, even mainstream figures like Farage are sounding the alarm. This isn't fringe hysteria. It's a bipartisan concern. This is about the erosion of civil liberties. We're looking at a very dangerous thing happen in America right now. And there's a few things that I want to cover over concerning UK, concerning what Charlie Kirk has done, visiting the UK, the things that he's spoken of. And we can talk about this at more in detail. I'd like to know your thoughts, but let's continue on here for a moment. And we'll just cover this as best as we can for you guys here. So let's take a look.
I said that is not compatible with Western values, and it went very viral, and it was so funny. The production team afterwards at GB News was like, wow, you said that. I'm like, wow, you guys are so British. You should spend some time in America. Our Overton window has moved a lot. The UK is very important to talk about, not just because what's happening in the UK, but also the ramifications here is the UK culturally felt like America before Donald Trump went down the golden escalator. They're in the abyss, but culturally, there is this kind of silent, are we allowed to say this? Are we allowed to challenge this? Are we allowed to talk about this? Are we allowed to question this? And Donald Trump will be in the history books for so many reasons. For isolating the Chinese Communist Party, for shining light on the southern border. But one thing I don't think he gets enough credit for, one thing that I think that gets forgotten in the story of Donald Trump, which, by the way, we are now coming up on a decade of Donald Trump. Next month will be 10 years since he went down the golden escalator. A decade.
So with his latest visit, or with his visit prior to his assassination, we saw that he spoke at Oxford. With many of the conversations that he had, the debates that he had, I think it's important that we go through some of those things and some of those contentions that he was making as he was there. we have just witnessed what you just witnessed, that video of the woman, a woman in a hijab, and the other woman in the video, the white woman, going to a mother's house to confiscate her daughter's phone. This clip right here. Now, as we went over some of the instances of all these different things, all these different people that have been persecuted for what? Free speech? We're looking at a dangerous instance of what could happen to America if we allow people like, I don't know, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, the types of Joe Biden, many others that have tried to silence the conservative voice or to shut down the churches. We looked at what happened during COVID. COVID was a huge wake-up call for the Christian, for the believer, that we must not bow down. We must not kneel. Even the Floydapalooza riots, all that stuff going on, that we must not bow down to the tyranny, where we are being forced to follow the ways of the sort of culture that is anti-American, anti-free speech, you name it, anti-American values. We were on the cusp of a dangerous America that would have most certainly put us all into a position where we would have been censored, silenced, and put away for a long time. Not only were the Christians, the sort of the Christian persecution that is happening today even far greater than it was just a couple of years ago, as this is only increasing more and more. We see what's happening in Nigeria, in Syria, and we can go on the list. Now, as I mentioned in the last broadcast, PBD goes over this pretty extensively. In fact, we'll take a look at his video for a moment. I think this is going to be important to look at because we need to understand some of the facts that he brings out here concerning the Christian persecution that nobody is talking about. And this is really important. I think we need to just stop and analyze this for a moment and just listen. But this is a warning to what could happen in America should we elect people, elect leaders that will who will want to silence your voice.
If you turn on primetime news, you're probably going to hear about what's going on with Ukraine.
On Ukraine's
Ukrainian city of Dnipro.
Ukraine has come under heavy bombardment from Russia.
Or what's going on with Gaza.
But in Gaza.
Gaza.
But you're probably going to hear nothing about the fact that one country has executed more persecutions towards Christians than any other countries around the world combined, and that's Nigeria. Just this year, 7,087 Christians have been killed, beheaded in many instances this year, just for going to church. Today we're going to talk about the events that are taking place in Nigeria targeted towards Christians.
So as we continue on here with this video, he's going to go on just a few points in the 12 minutes that he has here to share everything that's going on with Christian persecution, how this is something that is rising more and more. And I think it's well thought out, it's well presented. We won't look at the whole thing, however, we're just going to look at a few moments just to take a look at all of this, because I think this is something that we need to understand as Americans, where we have this ability for free speech. We have this ability to talk and discuss. And I'm going to steal Charlie Kirk's words here as when dialogue stops, violence happens, because then you begin to assume the position of the other is violence. So we talk and we debate and we talk about these things so that we can work it out, hash it out, get the great ideas forward. That's the only way that we can progress America forward to continue this free society that we live in. There are many that are holding onto power. Ilhan Omar types, and the ones that are attempting to be elected as mayor or governor. The current American power holders, the likes of which Gavin Newsom, AOC, the many people that we can go through that are literally anti-American in the way that they want to run their positions, their states, their cities, wanting to weaponize their power against the citizen, against the civilian. Now, we must remember that America was founded under this simple principle that we the people are the ones who govern, not the government. The people collectively are the ones to elect those who will bring forth or push forward the American value system as to what the founding fathers originally intended America to be.
We know mainstream media is not going to be talking about this a lot with other people. You want to get more exposure to it? Share with other people. Let me tell you why. Since 2009 till today, 125,000 Christians have been killed in Nigeria, according to the International Society for Civil Liberties and Rule of Law. By the way, when you're looking at the surge, 7,087 just this year in the first 220 days. That's 35 a day. 7,800 abducted. They disappeared. Can't find them anymore. 19,100 churches have been destroyed. Imagine you going to church. Imagine on Sunday, you just don't take your kids to church. All you want to do is go pray, maybe, sing a little bit, worship music, listen to the pastor, the preacher, what they have to say, the priest. 19,100 churches have been destroyed. By the way, 10,000 schools have been destroyed that are teaching Christian theology to kids, certain values that they have. And in Nigeria, specific areas, they're being targeted. Now, who is doing the targeting to these Christian communities, these Catholic churches? Many of these guys are the jihadists, one of the leaders being Boko Haram since 2009, later splintering into ISIS West Africa province, the ISWAP and Ansaru, conducting mass killing, forcing conversions, and abductions. And you're seeing this in the news. I'm going to put a picture here for you to see on what's going on. This is what they look like. They're just going around targeting Christians, burning homes, seizing land, destroying harvest, sexual violence. And the way they're going about doing it is they're going at night when you're asleep, night assaults on villages, church seizures and burnings, mass kidnapping, land grab, creating no-go zones for Christian natives. And families are sitting there saying, what do I do? I just want to go to church. I can't. You saw service. With everything that's going on, I mean, we get the challenge with our faith a lot of times. How strong is our faith? Is our faith as strong as this guy?
Now, we have to remember that we're also looking at this from what has happened in the last couple of days, or in the last couple of weeks, rather, of the church shootings. This is not something that is foreign to America. We've most certainly seen persecution like this in America, not to the extent of Nigeria, not to the extent of Syria. However, this is something that could most certainly happen to America. We are not, this is not something that we're immune to. But as YouTube Punk astutely put it, we the people elect our government. Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Losing their mind. But the benefit of what Donald Trump did is he courageously moved that Overton window with force and courage. And people say he's nothing but just narcissistic, overly self-indulgent, but only someone who believes in himself as much as Donald Trump could have moved that Overton window because the criticisms didn't get to him. He says, no, I'm going to double down on the fact that they're bringing rapists in this country, and I'm tripling down. And he took the slings and the arrows for the rest of us, and he basically created cover fire for millions of people like myself and you to then be able to talk. Because if Donald Trump is saying it and then the media is covering it, then other people get the courage to say the same thing. Then other people get the permission culturally to be able to ask the right questions. And then if he gets elected saying it, whoa. And then he goes into exile, and then he gets elected with a popular vote win and an electoral vote landslide. And we're in a place in this country where we can now say the things that otherwise people were terrified to say. We could dive deep into the correct issues.
Now, a lot of the conspiracy surrounding the assassination of Charlie Kirk is, of course, with his ideas concerning Israel, with his ideas of people, or this narrative that is now being brought out that he was walking away from the pro-Israel cause. Now, whether this was actually his heart behind this message that is being put out there, was he indeed communicating that somebody was out to get him? There's a lot of this conversation, a lot of this talk by Candace Owens, whether she's right or not, whether the tips that she's getting is actually true or not. This is something that we're going to have to see in the coming weeks. I mean, she is going on vacation. She has activated her sort of, kill switch that she calls it, that when if she were to die, if somebody were to take her out, then she would activate this switch and all of these legal documents, everything would be sent to whoever, and it would be pushed out. Now, this is, she feels like maybe she feels like her life is in danger. Who knows? Is she following the right trail? Who knows? I'm not agreeing with, really most of the things she's saying, honestly. But this is the narrative that is being pushed out there to social media, to Instagram, to X, to YouTube. There's so much that is being pushed out there for people to listen to. And we're getting confused because there's all this information coming from every which angle, and we don't know where to look. There is, however, one place that we know where there's absolute truth. And despite the disagreement that we can have on this podcast concerning Scripture, concerning the Bible, for me personally, this is my lighthouse per se. That I know where to go in the direction that I'm supposed to go. This is my North Star, you could say. This is where I am to look when I am to seek for truth. When I'm to analyze what the current leaders are doing versus what was happening in the time of the writers of the prophets, where they warned their own country, they warned their own people about the fact that if they would disobey God's commands, God would then turn away from them. He would curse them in ways that they would begin to continue down this trajectory of absolute destruction of their own country. And this is why they got scattered across the land. Now we're looking at, of course, in our modern times, 1948, the wars that happened since Israel coming back to be a nation again, the prophecies from Ezekiel 36 to 37 of them returning back to their land. This nation was scattered abroad, and now they've returned back to the land and still returning back to the land. So let's continue on here. Something that Charlie Kirk says. Again, this is all on the crux of America possibly being taken over by people who are opposed to American values. And some of those American values are indeed Christian values. You look at the original 13 colonies, each of their charters mention God or scripture in them. We can go through all the different documents that talk about really giving God the glory or the honor or whatever the case may be. You can look through them on the list. It's fascinating. Let's hear what Charlie Kirk is talking about here concerning UK. And let's get some of this, because he most certainly has talked about the fact that they have people who are being censored and put in jail. A lot of stuff.
Staying silently within 600 feet of people a day are arrested for offensive.
Here we go. Let me go back here.
Exactly. Well, they didn't conserve the ancient British rights to freedom of speech. In Britain today, 30 people a day are arrested for offensive posts on social media, according to the Telegraph. Praying silently within 600 feet of an abortion clinic can get you arrested in Scotland, as a 74-year-old woman named Rose just learned weeks ago.
Praying silently. There was even an article of a woman who appeared to be praying, not even any type of lip movements, just maybe hands folded. And they were attempting to remove her from the grounds of this abortion clinic. This is what we're facing. This is what this is what Britain is facing. They're witnessing. Now, actually, I'll play a clip that I've played here many times concerning a guy by the name of Anjam and instituting the Sharia law in UK, which is happening now. Again, to agree to disagree, we can talk about that most certainly. But otherwise, before I continue on here, I want to take a look at your comments. Give me a moment while I go back. And I want to know your thoughts on everything that I'm presenting to you so far. God will not allow them to be destroyed. Who are we talking about here concerning Israel? I agree with that. You say Trump is doing what you're accusing Dems of? I'm saying any government that is accusing, or rather that is silencing anybody. Now you might be referencing the fact of Jimmy Kimmel, that instance of Jimmy Kimmel and the fact that he was taken off air, however he was put back on air. But if there was some weight to the sort of taking away or removal of licenses, then we must broadcast licensing. And we must look at that and say, well, are they really censoring them? Because they still are being broadcasted far and wide. They haven't been censored, but ratings are at an all-time low. You say, so you would take the word of a drifter in a 10K tuxedo wearing a 100K watch, who is a CEO worth over 100 million. Well, please tell me more about Sharia law, which isn't happening. So apparently you know the price of his tuxedo that he's currently wearing and the $100,000 watch apparently that he's also wearing. Where are the receipts? Just out of curiosity. Yes, you say the FCC threatened him. We've heard about Brandon Carr and all this stuff that went down. But ultimately, it was the decision of the producers, the owners of the network, that ultimately decided to take him down. But after Disney mentioned and came out with the fact that this was ill-sensitive and ill-timed, they decided to put him back on after discussing this further.
Members of Parliament scold British citizens for thinking they have the right to say things, say that they do not have the right to say things that offend Muslims. 14 years of conservative rule didn't conserve British prosperity. Adjusted for inflation cost of living, the average British worker makes less today than they did in 2008. Outside of London, the British have lower incomes than every one of America's 50 states, and it never used to be this way. British industry pays 4 times as much for electricity as America does. You have the highest electricity rates in the world, a consequence of a choice of going net neutral. Nothing will kill a modern economy faster than high energy prices. And the country that invented the steam engine now has some of the highest energy prices on the planet. But above all, 14 years of conservative control didn't preserve the British nation. This country's conservatives thought it was their moral duty to allow anyone from the third world to move here. They didn't need to hold Western values. They didn't need to have useful skills. They could go on welfare immediately. Just last week, Keir Starmer announced he's changing the law to make sure immigrants who commit crimes are deported, because the conservatives never actually bothered passing that law themselves. The dying out of the British nation means the dying out of Christianity. Britain is the birthplace of Baptists, Methodists, Presbyterians, Anglicans, Quakers, and more. I would guess that more Christian denominations trace back to Britain than any other country. But soon, Britain will have more practicing Muslims than practicing Christians. I think that will be a catastrophic change, and everyone knows it. That's why it's only Muslims moving to Christian countries, never the other way around. I don't want America to go the way of Britain. I want us to remain free. I want us to remain rich and innovative. I want us to remain Christian. I don't want Americans to be replaced. But forget what I want. This is what the American people want. And in a democracy, the people are supposed to get what they want. The very same people that lecture us about democracy have a lot of problems with the consequences of democracy when the people vote a way that they don't like. And that,
by the way, so concerning that video that I wanted to share with you, this is important because we have to look at this clip from 9 years ago. I'm sorry, I might have said 7 years, from 9 years ago. Anjam Chowdhury, one of the UK's most notorious radical clerics, was convicted of inviting others to support so-called Islamic State. And we'll get his words exactly as to what they were trying to do here in the UK. And this is something that is manifesting even more so today. So let's go back here.
You have dictatorship.
And how's the campaign to move Britain over to Sharia law coming up?
Question there. I landed at the perfect spot. How is the campaign to move Britain to Sharia law?
Well, and how's the campaign to move Britain over to Sharia law coming along?
Well, this is in the hands of God. We do our best to propagate Islam. Well, of course it is. I think many people...
We do our best to propagate Islam. There is no separation of mosque and state. They are to be involved in every single aspect of where they can get their hands into. Education, government. You say, Jim, 9 years ago, how irrelevant? Look at UK today. Many of the UK viewers will actually say, yeah, this is actually happening. This is actually getting worse and worse. The call to prayers happening, especially in America now. You guys might think this is, they're practicing their freedom of religion. That it's going to get even more intense if we continue to allow this to happen. I mean, I'm not talking about the practice of their religion. They can practice their religion, sure, fine. But if they begin to embed themselves into positions of power, we see somebody like Mamdani or the Somalian guy in, I want to say Minnesota, who's running for, I want to say mayor. I forget his name. Let's continue on here.
We see that democracy and freedom is no good for the British, no good for Afghanistan, and in fact, we need an alternative. And like man-made law, the Sharia is not something which gives you a right today to take it away tomorrow. It's good in all times and places.
Siri, to make this an issue of freedom and democracy is absurd. Anjam, You haven't had a hair on your body touched by this government or this country. You haven't spent a day in prison. You haven't suffered one bit for your views. You're allowed to sit here right now because of freedom and democracy in your so-called caliphate. You'd have me killed, wouldn't you?
Look, let me clarify. Somebody's saying you're spreading hate speech, so they can't be politicians. They can be politicians, but when they're starting to institute anti-American, look at Ilhan Omar. She wants to bring the Somalian, oh gosh, we'd have to get her words so that we can get, so that I'm not misrepresenting her words, because she's actually, the things that she says are very anti-American. Again, they can run to be politician by all means, so long as they carry forth the American views that this country was set out to be. This country was set out to have freedom of speech, not institution of Sharia law that will ultimately ban anybody from being any type of other religion, the persecution that would happen. There's so much that is going on here that maybe you guys aren't seeing. I don't know. Or maybe we're just disagreeing here. Maybe there's not enough clarity. So I hope I can provide more clarity as we continue on here. I just mentioned to you, even the conservatives that we can go down the list as to who are not spreading those values, name some in the chat. I'd like to know exactly who you think are not spreading those values, these American values. Anybody who's not spreading these American values. I mean, you might be referencing Trump or whoever else, but we need to look at if they're America first. They might not be practicing Christianity. They don't have to practice Christianity. That's not even what I'm calling for. The American values of freedom, free speech, the ability to debate and discuss like we're talking about here on the chat. So I'd really like to know, as one says, I'm deciding what your American views are. You are deciding what your American views are. You say you don't agree, and we are free to believe what we want. I will report you as you are spreading hate speech. This is the thing. You're going to report. You're going to tell YouTube, hey, he's spreading hate speech. When I'm here to discuss all these things, I'm bringing you evidence. There's no hate speech here. I can tell you that much. But many will feel offended at this message that I'm apparently anti-Islamic or Islamophobic or xenophobia. When in reality, we want America first. America first to be able to continue the way that we are living with this type of dialogue to be able to happen and continue. YouTube was censoring. Facebook was censoring. Instagram, we have all these instances of many people who are saying that we are lying or whatever. So take it what you will. We have to understand that we're electing these people into power. These people, whether it's a Muslim, whether it's an American, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, whoever the case is, if they're not advancing America forward to what essentially what the foundation was of this country, that we are all created equal, even the same language that is in scriptures, that we're all created equal, we all bear the image of God, that we also are looking at we have to look at all this stuff. So let's continue on here.
That's where Donald Trump comes in. When I was growing up, people would say that Britain was where America would be 10 or 20 years in the future. What they meant was that Britain was more left-wing than America, but we'd catch up eventually. That's just how things were over time, and nothing could stop it. I don't hear people saying that anymore. Donald Trump is the reason why. Almost alone, Donald Trump has changed the course of history. He's destroyed the assumption that the left's victory was inevitable. Under President Biden, more than 10 million illegal aliens entered America. Guides were published on TikTok explaining how to break into America. Say some magic words at the border and nobody would stop you. Entire neighborhoods of American cities were turned over to migrants living on the dole. America was treated as a pile of wealth for the rest of the planet to plunder at will. Now that is all stopping. President Trump has cut border crossings, not 90%, not 99%, but 99.9%. For years, my country's leaders lied that the southern border was an unfixable mess. President Trump exposed them all as liars within weeks. But closing the door didn't fix the damage that Biden did. We have well over 10 million people in America who should not be in America. If somebody breaks into your home, you don't fix the problem by closing your door and locking it. Things aren't fixed until the burglar is kicked out. And President Trump has been fighting harder than ever to make that happen. But I'd be happy if we fought even harder. Of course, illegal migration isn't the only threat facing America. In Joe Biden's America, we had the tyranny of DEI. Even though America's Constitution explicitly forbids racial discrimination, our government ordered people to do it anyway. People were denied jobs and denied promotions. Kids were shut out of universities based on the color of their skin rather than their ability. Companies were denied federal contracts because their owners didn't look a certain way. People who didn't discriminate enough in hiring could be sued by the government. Every company in America lived in fear of their government deciding to target them for offenses against DEI. Trump has ordered DEI to be torn down, but I want him to tear it down faster. I want every university told that they're losing all federal dollars immediately if they don't stop racial discrimination. I want the Department of Justice to start auditing every federal contractor to find DEI and shut off contracts immediately wherever we find it. This is a kind of cancer that cannot be phased out. It must be ripped out from the core. The same goes for the toxic social contagion of transgenderism. In Joe Biden's America, public schools and medical organizations were co-opted into endorsing this insanity. They urged children just 10 years old or younger to take barely tested hormones and surgically alter their bodies. In some of America's liberal states, a parent who objects to their child's transition can lose custody. I've met detransitioners who escaped from this social poison. They tell me that getting sucked into the first place was the greatest mistake of their lives.
Now, we must play this clip of Ilhan Omar. It's actually some quotes from her. This is on here. Let's go here. This is DeSantis ripping Ilhan Omar for Somalia First speech. I'm trying to find the clip, of course, but doing that on the stream is not going to be it's not going to be easy, because then I have to go digging and all that stuff. So let's take a look. Bring you over there.
She said, and what people are criticizing her, for as long as I am in the U.S. Congress, Somalia will never be in danger. Its waters will not be stolen by Ethiopia or others. Sleep in comfort knowing that I am here to protect the interests of Somalia from inside the U.S. system. The woman you sent to Congress working day and night to protect your interests. Well, Governor Ron DeSantis responded to that ad, and he made it a little shorter. He said, expel from Congress, denaturalize, and deport. Like, who do you care about here, Ilhan Omar? Anyway, she fired back at DeSantis and said no nation state can survive if its states start to get involved in land lease negotiations with other countries without the consent of the federal government. Somalis in Somalia and in the diaspora united in that effort, and I stand in solidarity with them. No amount of harassment and lies will ever change that. So look, I mean, there's a water dispute between Ethiopia and Somalia, but it's again, you're here in the United States now. Yeah. You're serving in Congress.
Mm-hmm. Do your job here.
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
What matters to you?
You work.
Anyway, so at some point we'll pull up that clip, get you a better picture as to what she's saying. Even the things that she said are, I mean, just are absolutely reprehensible. She married her own brother. I actually might be able to pull up those documents that we have seen. I mean, she's honestly just a joke, and I don't know how anybody can go on to keep supporting her. I mean, I just have to look for it here, but otherwise, we have even the likes of which Hillary Clinton, suggesting white Christian men are doing so much damage to our world. This is the left's mindset. Christianity, of what? A message of love your neighbor? And I'm not saying everybody represents Christianity well either. There are some that honestly are just absolutely reprehensible. The way they communicate, the way that they use the gospel for their own gain. This is something that happened in the past, something that still happens today. It's unfortunate. I think somebody who's doing an excellent coverage of all these people who are abusing the gospel for their own gain, whether it's sexually or monetarily, he's really going for it. Mike Winger. He's interviewing many of the victims, interviewing the pastors that are afraid to speak up. Or maybe they have spoken up and nothing has changed and they're only there to protect the victims. Jonathan, you say America has played a major role in shaping global politics, technology, and culture, and continues to be a symbol of hope and progress for many around the world. Yeah, that's very true. I think hope is a big one. Hope is a big one. Let's go back to this speech here. And there's a clip that I want to bring back up. Let me see if I can find it. Or actually, a scripture I might want to bring up to talk about, I guess, our nationalism.
President Trump has taken steps to stop promoting this lunacy. He's acted to protect women's sports. Another POI I meant to make. She said it's only a couple dozen. 890 biological men have stolen awards, trophies, and championships from women in America. It's not a couple dozen. Over 890 women were displaced by pervert men. That's why I want Donald Trump's administration and why I support it. It's mostly what I've gotten, but I want more of it. I'll be honest. We, the American people, we want more deportations. We want more peace deals. We want more woke colleges defunded. We want more DEI parasites to lose their jobs. The American people voted to put America first. And you know what? You should all too. This is my final point. Do I have to stop? Okay. I mean, you should want to, no, it's fine. I don't know the rules. It's fine. You should want to preserve and restore the greatness of Britain. You should want the decline to stop, and you can make it happen. Starmer wouldn't be saying anybody's saying without what President Trump is doing. If you were honest with yourself, if you want a great Britain again, not a mediocre Britain, if you want a Britain that you could be proud of, you should all be wearing MAGA hats and cheering Donald Trump on every step of the way. Thank you very much.
Now, these are some scriptures that I think we need to bring up. Proverbs 14:34. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. Psalm 33:12. Blessed is a nation whose God is the Lord, the people whom he has chosen to be his heritage. Or even Jeremiah 29:7. But seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you into exile, and pray the Lord on its behalf, for in its welfare you will find your welfare. Interesting. Or even Proverbs 11:14, where there is no guidance, a people falls. But in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. Or even Proverbs 29:2, when righteousness increase, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, people groan. Yes. Yes. Can anybody here honestly say during the 4 years of Biden that it was, anywhere of really a prosperous nation, we were actually becoming the most weakest nation, according to all of the surrounding nations that were actually laughing at us. We were becoming the laughing stock of the nation, of the nations, actually.
The fact that
This is something that I have to show you. Because don't take my words for it. Take Hillary Clinton's words for it.
And I am proud of the fact that we have always been a work in progress. You know, we haven't gotten to the more perfect union, and we fought a civil war over part of it. Mm-hmm. And people have been protesting, for hundreds of years that, things were not as they should be, given our ideals and how we should be moving toward them. So I think that's what makes us so special as a country. And the idea that you could turn the clock back and try to recreate a world that never was, dominated by, let's say it, white men of a certain persuasion, a certain religion, a certain point of view, a certain ideology, it's just doing such damage to what we should be aiming for. And we were on the path toward that. I mean, imperfectly, lots of, bumps along the way, but I agree with you, we were on the right trajectory.
We were not on the right trajectory, I can tell you that much. So whatever she's smoking is that's bad. Because America, again, was becoming the laughingstock of the entire world. We were looked at as we were becoming the weak nation. That there was no power that the U.S. president held to be able to do anything, to broker any sort of peace deals, especially with all the wars that sparked. Ukraine, Russia, Hamas, Iran. We'll just say the whole Middle East. But reclaiming our narrative at home whilst free speech is crumbling abroad, here at home, we're fighting a symbolic battle also. So Trump today reinstated Columbus Day and established Leif Erikson Day as well. So this isn't just about holidays. It's a bold stand against the left's relentless efforts to erase history. So I think we need to take a look at this clip just before he announces the sort of information concerning the deal with Israel and Hamas. Now, I will say I did see a clip circulating. I don't know the details of everything concerning the fact that Al Jazeera was playing clips of tanks shooting into the sort of Gaza coastal line. Now, what the context is, those who can understand Arabic, those who can read Arabic, would be able to translate what they're saying in this clip, essentially. Now, some are saying that this clip is from January 25, 2025, the beginning of January 2025. This clip is also being said that it was around 2024 of October. So we don't know. Times of Gaza posted this. You can look at the clip if you want. So whether that information is true, look, we need to figure that out. Because obviously what's being said is that, of course, Israel is not going to hold up their bargain, their end of the deal. So we just have to keep looking out for that, because that is just obviously that is not something that that's not something we were hoping to have happen. Obviously, if there was a deal for ceasefire, then there was a deal. What was going on? So I'd like to know, why did that happen? If there was a ceasefire deal already in place, why did that happen? That's what a ceasefire is for.
Today is Leif Erikson Day. Leif Erikson was a famous Viking explorer who discovered the coast of Newfoundland over a millennium ago. This is a hugely important holiday, particularly to Scandinavian Americans who celebrate his legacy as a great explorer, as a devout Christian, and really just a fascinating individual in the history of our continent.
Sweden and various other countries. We have a lot of people from Sweden, a lot of Scandinavians. This is very important for Scandinavians, and it's a great honor. Okay, and now you have another one that's
this is like
I think very non-controversial, frankly, but some people would say it's controversial. Go ahead.
This is like Explorer Day for you, sir. Today we have your Columbus Day proclamation for Monday, which we're signing a bit early. Christopher Columbus obviously discovered the New World in 1492. He was a great Italian explorer. He sailed his 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, across the Atlantic Ocean and landed in what's today the Caribbean. But this is a particularly important holiday for Italian Americans who celebrate the legacy of Christopher Columbus and the innovation and explorer zeal that he represented.
In other words, we're calling it Columbus Day. Okay.
Yes.
That was the press that broke out in applause. Can you believe that? I've never seen that happen before. The press actually broke out in applause. Good. Columbus Day. We're back. Columbus Day, we're back, Italians. Okay. We love the Italians. Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Great. Thank you very much.
Have a good one, sir.
So we covered Scandinavia and Italy.
These two were undoubtedly courageous. They represent Judeo-Christian values woven into Western identity. So it's interesting because growing up, we were celebrating these days. So we'd have school off, or work would, we would be off of work. Now, it's not about the days off. It's about remembering and having these things to call for remembrance so that we can understand where we come from and how we got here. God often says, look, place this in a sort of, we look at the story of Joshua when God tells him to put the 12 stones of the tribes. So Joshua 4:1-9 says, when all the nations had finished passing over the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, take 12 men from the people, from each tribe, a man, and command them, saying, take 12 stones from here, out of the midst of the Jordan, from the very place where the priests' feet stood firmly, and bring them over with you and lay them down in the place where you lodge tonight. So then Joshua called the men from the people of Israel, whom he had appointed, a man from each tribe, and Joshua said to them, pass on before the ark of the Lord your God into the midst of the Jordan, and take up each of you a stone upon his shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the people of Israel, that this may be a sign among you. When your children ask in time to come, what do these stones mean to you? Then you shall tell them what the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. It says, when it passed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. It says, so these stones shall be to the people of Israel a memorial forever. This is why we need to have memorials erected, so that this can be, when our kids ask about them, something that we can tell our children, hey, this is why this is here for. This is the reason why this is here. Not as an idol, not as something we can worship, but as a remembrance, a callback to how we got to this point. Hence the many different, maybe universities or cities that are calling for or unanimously voting for memorials in Charlie Kirk's name, a street or a statue in a university, wherever the case. This is important. This is something that is important that we must continue to look at, continue to do, continue to want to do within our country, within our society, to bring remembrance to ourselves and to tell our kids about how we got where we got. But coming down to the other types of things that are just happening all around the world, some actually crazy news considering what just happened in the Philippines. This is something that I think needs to be shown because, I can only imagine. Considering, let me just show you the clip. Let me just show you the clip because this is crazy and this is sad. And I think we need to pray for the people of the Philippines. So this is a around 9:43 a.m. A 7.6 magnitude earthquake. Now it says October the 10th. Now this is their time. It struck Medano. I think that's how it's pronounced. It says this comes just weeks after central. Let me zoom in here. Visayas was hit, and now another region faces devastation. 7.6 magnitude. I have lowered the volume down because it got really loud, so sorry about that, guys. That's wild. Look, before YouTube strikes me. So this is important because when we're looking at things like this, the scriptures talk more and more about the fact that during the last days, there's going to be an increase in earthquakes, an increase in many different things like pestilence, famine, and so on and so forth. Could this be as a result of, well, not obviously not the earthquakes, but the result of famines and pestilence because of man-made wars? This is interesting. This is on the crux of this is on the heels rather of Trump and the deal that went down with Hamas. This is very interesting. This is the people of Gaza. Palestinians after picking up aid in Gaza. Check this out.
الناس بتاخذ كرتونه وثلاثه بتاعت حماس بدنا لك تروحش على امريكان يخلف على امريكان هم بدونا طحين واكل اسامه حمدان في قطر شبعان نايم تحت المكيفات هو ونسوانه واولاده بقول لك ما حدش يروح احنا بنراهن على ايش على صمود شعبنا صمود مين يا حبيبي تعال تفرج كيف الناس جعانه بتروح نصيحه من الشعب لحماس سلمي وراقك وروحوا دمرت رجلي يا عم ارحمونا من شيء الامن ارحمونا خلكم يا ترامب وصلتنا يا حماس.
Many of them are saying, may God hold Hamas accountable. This is great. They're getting food. They're picking up aid. Some of them, I mean, they're going to explain it on further.
حماس اللي بتقول لك مقاوم وسلاح وشعبنا صامت صارت كيف الناس كل قطاع غزه بروح عند الامريكان عشان يطعموهم يخلف على ترامب كان.
Now there was also a clip of Hamas selling this. I don't know if I saved it or not. I have to go back and look, but Hamas selling this, the aid, and a woman was secretly recording this. So I'm going to look for this while I continue playing this. The captions are there, so you're going to have to follow along just to see what's being said. But otherwise, it's I think it's absolutely important that this actually is going on. That we're seeing what's happening. We're hearing the very words of what they're saying. They're blessing Trump. They're thanking Trump. Trump, the one who feeds me, may God bless him. That's interesting. That's wild. Now only Trump could have done this. Or maybe somebody else would have been able to do this, but nobody has thus far. Now, how long this indeed lasts, well, only time will tell. I hope it lasts for a long time, that there's peace, that Gaza gets rebuilt, that the Palestinian people can live in peace, not under the rule of Hamas, but ruling themselves in a way that is going to prosper that area in that region. Justice, you say, God bless President Trump for making this deal happen. A great deal of work went on through Trump's cabinet with Marco Rubio, extreme diplomacy and economic growth and twisting of arms. Yeah, honestly, he wasn't going to take no for an answer. So, YouTube punk, you're automatically going to, this is likely propaganda. That's sad. Can't even be happy for the people that are getting food. I mean, maybe you are happy. I hope so. let's continue on here. I'm going to try to find that clip. Hopefully I can find it for you guys because I don't remember where I saw it, but gosh, this is what they do. This is what Hamas does.
احسن ما واحد يجي من دعم حماس دعم قطر يقول لي ايش خليك في دارك وما تشاركوش الاسرائيليين الامريكيين في هذا المشروع لا بدنا نشاركهم بدنا ناكل تعال طعميني وبديش اروح على الامريكان بس تعال طعميني ما تضلكش صامت في قطر وانت نايم ومكيف بقول لأسامة حمدان بقول حسبي الله فيك وفي اولادك كمان وان شاء الله تذوق اللي ذقناه احنا بنقول حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل في حماس ان شاء الله تذوق اللي ذقناه ايش تقول لأسامة حمدان؟ ايش بقول لأسامة حمدان؟ تعال اقعد عندنا فاوض معنا جوع معنا موت معنا ايش بدنا نقول له هو وابنه والنور وكل قيادات حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل الله يجعله يذوق اللي ذقناه احكي لنا تفاصيل التفاصيل والله احنا وصلنا ما اخذناش حاجه في ناس من الشعب اخذ 50 كرتون وفي ناس ما اخذش ولا كرتون فاحنا بدنا نظام لهذا الكلام وشاعب بلا مؤاخذه ماشيين كله من القل ومن الجوع كان في آلية تفتيش في لا في تفتيش ولا في آلية الامريكان واقفين على جانب والصحيح ايش رسالتك لأسامة حمدان والمفد المفاوض؟ أسامة حمدان بدنا واقف حرب احنا واللي بفاوضوا مش حاسين فينا مش هان بياكلوا خرفان وبياكلوا كباب مش حاسين في الشعب الجعان هاي رسالتي وبدنا واقف حرب ويعطيك العافية
Yeah, so what's interesting is that this first clip here. So mind you, let me go over this first clip. So I got to find the clip of this woman, selling or seeing, recording Hamas, secretly recording Hamas sell the food. But he says here, we don't need to show ID or do an iris scan. So let's. All of Gaza has come to get aid. So why show an ID or get an iris scan? The iris scan part is weird. But why that? This is interesting because when we're talking about something like Revelation. Now, I'm not saying this is the mark of the beast, but the mark of the beast is indeed what it talks about in Scripture. It talks about that nobody can buy or sell without this mark. Now, the region as to where this Antichrist will come, probably from the European region. Possibly. We just don't know. We just don't know. He's probably not going to be somebody from the Western countries, meaning America. Who knows? Who knows? Only time will tell. But I just found this interview, or this not this interview, but this. Well, I guess it is interviews of Palestinians picking up aid in Gaza. And so we've got the Philippines, we got Gaza, them receiving aid. Some information about Letitia James, who has now been indicted on fraud charges. So a grand jury indicted New York Attorney General Letitia James on charges of fraud Thursday, roughly 2 weeks after the indictment of former James Comey, FBI Director James Comey, which he has been arrested. A source close to the matter confirmed the indictment in the Associated Press Tuesday. James was indicted in the Eastern District of Virginia on one count after a mortgage fraud investigation said the person who spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to publicly discuss the matter. The case has been kept under seal as of this writing, so the exact evidence presented to the grand jury remains unknown. So neither Letitia James nor her office have issued a comment on the indictment. Now, this is actually a clip of her speaking on the matter. And I want to play this for you in a moment. Let me get there. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on this? No one is above the law? Absolutely. No one should be above the law. Absolutely not.
This is nothing more than a continuation.
Let me go back here so you guys can hear.
This is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system. He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding, all because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General. These charges are baseless, and the president's own public statements make clear that his only goal is political retribution at any cost. The president's actions are a grave violation of our constitutional order and have drawn sharp criticism from members of both parties. His decision to fire a United States attorney who refused to bring charges against me and replace them with someone who is blindly loyal not to the law, but to the president, is antithetical to the bedrock principles of our country. This is the time for leaders on both sides of the aisle to speak out against this blatant perversion of our system of justice. I stand strongly behind my office's litigation against the Trump Organization. We conducted a 2-year investigation based on the facts and evidence, not politics. Judges have upheld the trial court's finding that Donald Trump.
Now, I want to pause here for a moment because Hampy said, hopefully ICE comes here to Minnesota soon. And then somebody said, I'm standing here behind enemy lines. What's going on in Minnesota? Can you guys explain to us a little bit more? Boo Boo Boss and Hampy, if you guys can explain a little bit more. What's going on? What are we seeing out in Minnesota? Let's catch the audience up to speed of what's going on there. You said you think we are overrun by idiots. Let's continue on here. I'm going to continue reading some of these chats. Pray for Minnesota. Yes, we must pray for the law enforcement. We must pray for the citizens of Minnesota that are in harm's way. Absolutely.
His company and his 2 sons are liable for fraud. I'm a proud woman of faith. And I know that faith and fear cannot share the same space. And so today, I'm not fearful. I'm fearless. And as my
such
faith
a heroic
teaches
line
me,
there. She sounded like James Comey when he said, gosh, we'd have to go back to his clip, but he was basically saying like, I'm not going to stand down, essentially. It was like this heroic line. Let's see if we can find that clip because it's eerily similar. Eerily similar. That they're these heroes that we're supposed to look up to? Is that the case? Let's see here. James Comey. You know what? This is going to be on YouTube, actually, I want to say. But this is funny. Here we go. This is James Comey. Let's bring you over to this clip.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either.
It's almost like how mainstream media like copies the same type of message, the same tonality. This sounds very similar.
Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
Well, that is James Comey. And again, Letitia James, who has essentially what sounds like the same message, kind of, that we're not going to stand against this tyrant, Trump.
Against me shall prosper. We will fight these baseless charges aggressively, and my office will continue to fiercely protect New Yorkers and their rights. And I will continue to do my job.
Again, very similar. Very similar. It's weird. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Now, this is somebody who's making the rounds. This is Lancey. Karen Lancey. This is also going very viral. Her response on this interview. She just ups and leaves the interview. I want to get your guys' take on this. Somebody said Trump is wasting our money with his nonsense, with his BS. What is he wasting our money on, Tammy? I'm curious. Like literally, I'm just curious. I want you to mention in the chat what it is that you're saying he's wasting our money on. Somebody said, hopefully Trump ends funding Minnesota all schools in my area are begging Waltz to comply with the no women and men's sports, but he won't. Yeah, Waltz, of course. Tim Waltz won't do that. Hearing leftists bring up faith it really is. It's so disgusting. Like let's hold to the faith. What faith? Okay, so this clip, I need to refresh this because this clip is not loading. Here
what do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, ma'am?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%. Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're saying.
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
So how do you not intend that to be the case? Are you going to ask them not to run?
No, I'm saying I'm going to build the support. I have the support already in terms of name recognition. And so I'm going to do the very best I can to make sure that we get through this primary in a really strong position. But let me be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say. If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you don't have an experience.
But you just said you don't need those Trump voters.
Well, you asked me if I needed them to win.
So you don't
I
think
feel like this is unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
The question is the same thing I asked everybody, that this is being called the empowering voters to stop Trump's power grab. Every other candidate has answered this question. This is not
argumentative. And I said I support it.
So, and the question is, what do you say to the 40% of voters who voted for Trump?
Oh, I'm happy to say that. It's the do you need them to win part that I don't understand. I'm happy to answer the question as you have it written, and I'll answer it.
And we've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered.
I don't care.
Follow-ups.
I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never
reporter.
had to do this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end
a
an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of, I'm me, I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make...
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these, and if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative...
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you.
An unhappy experience? I mean, is this interview supposed to be happy? We're talking about running for governor? Pat Bet-Davis says she makes Newsom look like a sweetheart. California brace for impact. Gosh, California is going to have a serious problem if we don't get somebody in the right position to turn California around. We're looking at Prop 50. We're looking at AB 495. We're looking at so much that California is facing right now that is going to absolutely turn California to, I don't know, one giant San Francisco. It's going to be bad. Could be bad. Or could it be worse? I don't know. it won't end well if California continues to head in this direction with these different candidates. Now, I did want to point this out because tomorrow, actually today will be the announcement of, I don't have any drum rolls, but will be in the announcement of possibly a Nobel Peace Prize, which many have said in the chat yesterday. Majority of you said no, that Trump does not deserve any type of Nobel Peace Prize. Now, sources like PBS and CNN are saying, look, he is far from obtaining any type of Nobel Peace Prize because he hasn't met these specific standards, that he's too radical, essentially, to be able to even can be considered for a Nobel Peace Prize. So world leaders, lawmakers, public figures to Nobel Committee, no leader has done more for peace, award Trump the prize. It says after he brokered what Israeli officials hailed as miraculous. Now, not only that, are the families of the hostages are calling for a Nobel Peace Prize, or nominating, or saying he should get the Nobel Peace Prize. So this is, as it says here, an achievement hailed as historic and unprecedented, as with allies calling him the president of peace. Interesting time we're living in here. President of peace, the peacemaker of the world, the peacemaker the world needed, as a quote here. On Wednesday evening, President Donald Trump announced that Israel and Hamas had both signed off on the first phase of his plan, declaring that all hostages will be released very soon. This would be potentially Monday that we're looking at this to happen. So our Sunday, their Monday. This is crazy. When all of this goes down, what will happen? Will this go through, or will Hamas back away? Because according to Trump, all hell will break loose if indeed he is, the deal doesn't fully go through with releasing all the hostages. And by the way, I did want to mention, thank you so much for those who have subscribed to this channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the like, hit the subscribe button. We've just passed 2,000 subscribers, and I'm so grateful for those who are agreeing with me and disagreeing with me in the comments. You guys are most certainly always welcome to talk and to just continue this conversation. Now, today is more of a focused podcast where we're looking at these news stories and trying to analyze them as best as we can. You say Hamas are not the ones continuing bombing. They are the ones that are continuing to not come to any deals with Israel or with the U.S. at all. With the many deals that were proposed to them, many ceasefires, whether Israel broke a ceasefire or whether Hamas broke a ceasefire. I mean, we saw this with Hezbollah, right? And by the way, Essay, thank you. You said, I subscribed last time. I like the discourse here. We don't have to agree. It's healthy to hear from others. Yes, amen. Amen. I love to hear from others who disagree with me. And we usually go through a lot of the comments on this show, always, generally. But Hezbollah and the ceasefires, the agreements that kept being broken so that they can gather up their arsenal, so they can continue to fire the many thousands of rockets after Israel had only begun to dismantle their weaponry to stop them and prevent them from continuing any further. Israel has dismantled Hezbollah from continuing on their nonsense. We've seen them, out of the game. So it's really only Israel and Hamas. Iran has denied Hamas any type of help that they've been asking for to combat these Zionists, as they say. And Iran said, no, we're not going to get involved until they got to a point to where they were the first in ever in any sovereign nation to directly attack. Well, actually, Iran to not use and utilize their proxies, but to directly attack Israel with their drones, with their rockets. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So let's continue on with this article here. It says, declaring that all hostages will be released very soon and that Israel will reposition forces at the first step toward the durable settlement. The White House amplifies the announcement on X. It says, on Capitol Hill, Republicans led the call. Representative Nancy Mace said Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize and is the president of peace, while Senator Marsha Blackburn, Senator Tommy Tuberville, and Senator Cynthia Lummis praised the breakthrough as historic and pressed the committee to act. Now, if you actually go on their website, of course, nothing has been announced yet, but today will be the everybody's going to be waiting. And I think the Nobel Peace Prize might be canceled if they don't issue a peace prize to President Trump. Because I think the majority of people, we've discussed this on the chat, we've had a poll on the chat that, again, people on this chat in particular say that they don't agree with, but a lot of leaders in different nations that have already nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize. So I don't think they're going to announce it immediately. Okay, so here we go. This is interesting. So the announcements will begin from the 6th through the 13th of October. Now, this would be the birthday of, I forget his first name, but maybe that's his first name, Nobel. I don't think that it is. But this is the countdown timer that they have. 1 hour and 39 minutes, 55 seconds. Interesting. Should we continue the stream on till we get some type of announcement here? Whoa, that's interesting, huh? Well, anyway, whether that happens or not, who knows? But many other leaders Biden, as somebody said yesterday in the chat, that Biden got a Nobel Peace Prize for absolutely nothing, just because he was Obama. His name was Nobel. Yeah. Is it his first name, last name? I don't remember. So, what do you guys think? In this chat, specifically, Alfred Nobel, thank you. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that he deserves this Peace Prize? Do you agree the Epstein files should be released? Yes. If there's any files that there are out there, let it all be released. Let it all be released and let the public see the stuff that is obviously not dealing with any of the was it C-SPAM? What is it called? C-SPAM? Or CSAM? I forget what it's called. Somebody corrected me in the chat the last time, but yes. I see a yes, 100%. The Nobel Peace Prize was already decided. Interesting. Where? Who was it? I didn't hear anything of this. Said no, Peace Prize of it last 5 years. C-SPAN. Yeah, I think that's what it is. CSAM. I think it's CSAM, if I'm not mistaken. So all the information that can be released to the public for them to look at. The documents, the information, whatever it is. Somebody said it will never be released. Too many people will get caught on their knees, literally. Look, whether these are people of power, actors, directors, politicians, need to be exposed. We cannot continue this corrupt nonsense of having people in power that are able to do this type of stuff to children, to young adults, young children. It's sickening. They must be held accountable. 100%. 100%. That's absolutely the case. They won't be released. Yeah, I think the majority of you are saying you're mistaken. C-SPAN. Isn't C-SPAN the news outlet? Don't remember. Somebody's saying Trump is on the Epstein list. I don't think so. I think the last administration would have already nailed him on something for that. But I'm going to play this clip here for you for a moment, just so I can use the restroom, take a potty break, and we'll continue on with the show.
Bad. Now for the rest of the world. So I want to thank everybody for being here. As you know, last night we reached a momentous breakthrough in the Middle East, something that people said was never going to be done. We ended the war in Gaza and really, on a much bigger basis, created peace. And I think it's going to be a lasting peace, hopefully an everlasting peace. Peace in the Middle East. We secured the release of all of the remaining hostages, and they should be released on Monday or Tuesday. Getting them is a complicated process. I'd rather not tell you what they have to do to get them. They're in places you don't want to be, but we are getting the hostages back on Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, and that'll be a day of joy. I'm going to try and make a trip over. We're going to try and get over there, and we're working on the timing, the exact timing. We're going to go to Egypt, where we'll have a signing, an additional signing. We've already had a signing representing me, but we're going to have an official signing. And the amazing thing is all of the countries over there, from Qatar to Saudi Arabia to UAE to all of them, I mean, the rich ones, the less than rich ones, they've all come together, something which is amazing, actually. They've all come together for this, and they're really probably the best relationships they've ever had. So it's been really something incredible that nobody thought it was possible to get it done. And very importantly, the hostages are coming back. As you know, they consider them hostages. They talk about them as hostages, but there are approximately 28 dead people, mostly young, mostly men, but and boys. I mean, boys. The one woman talked about her baby. Her baby's 25 years old, but you know, to her it's her baby, and we're bringing them home. We're getting them to, we're getting everything, and to those parents, the dead young man is just as important, as though this person were alive. It's amazing. I've never seen anything quite like it. I've been very much involved. I've never seen anything quite like it. But it's really peace in the Middle East. And you remember October 7th was terrible, but also from the Hamas standpoint, they probably lost 70,000 people. That's big retribution. That's big retribution. But at some point, that whole thing has to stop, and we're going to see to it. Gaza is going to be slowly redone. You have tremendous wealth in that part of the world by certain countries, and just a small part of that, what they make will do wonders for Gaza. And I think you're going to see some tremendous countries stepping up and putting up a lot of money and taking care of things. But there's tremendous spirit like I haven't seen. And even the news, I won't call it fake news for this purpose, because they really were very fair today, I must tell you, in all cases. But they covered it very well. They covered it very fairly. Everybody loves it.
Guys, I want to open it up to you. So, YouTube Punk, you tagged my wife asking, why do non-Republican Christians disgust me? I never said that they disgust me. I don't know where you're getting that from. But I want to open it up to you guys. Somebody said, good, now concentrate on USA. Yes, we need to concentrate on USA. We need to focus on getting this country back into order. We need to get grocery prices down. We need to get gas prices down. Look, guys, I owned an EV recently. This was, by God's grace, been able to be taken back from Volkswagen. They were able to repurchase it back. It was just a bad lemon. Bad. And I guess the convenience of not paying for gas immediately sort of is the convenient part of it because of gas being so crazy. Somebody said fix the West Coast. And recently just got rid of that car. Now getting a gas car. And we've got to lower those gas prices. We've got to lower those gas prices so we don't have to pay crazy money. Dual citizenship. President Clippy, you have, am I missing something here? Do you have dual citizenship? Where do you have dual citizenship? I'm reading your guys' comments so I can interact with you guys for a moment before we get close to the end of the stream here. This has been a great one, guys. I'm so glad you guys have been here for this live show. This is one of the more exciting live shows where we have more people to talk and to just talk about these different things that we're going over and covering. Trump, when he concentrates on nationwide politics, concentrate on the U.S. Trump, when he concentrates on the U.S., that tyranny, and what about all those people in Gaza? I think you're right, Coco Puffy. I think you're right because he just can't make anybody happy. I've noticed this with some of the viewers that are watching, and I'm so grateful you're here. By all means, I'm grateful for you that you're here, but I'll talk about one thing and then it's like, no, I can't make anybody happy in this chat. Quite frankly. It's almost impossible. You see doctors and medical researchers for Nobel Prize. I think they do announce that. I think they've announced some already from the 6th to the 13th. They're saying they're going to announce the prizes. Now we can, I guess, keep the timer up for just the time being, just out of, I don't know, comedic purposes. Whether this is the announcement for Trump, who knows? Oh, I'm sorry. He said you skipped my question above concerning dual citizenship. Congressmen shouldn't have Israel dual citizenship, correct? American first, right? Get Israel out of our country and out of our budget. Look, dual citizenship, I think is fine, but in the country that you're living in, serving in, if you're serving in Congress, if you're serving in wherever, you need to have an American first mindset. Whatever is going to benefit America first. The policies that you enact, the policies that you produce or to sign off on should be America first. Because you say not in Congress. So let me see. Let me go back to your original comment. The majority voted for Trump, yes. We voted for Trump. Dual citizenship, congressman. I don't understand. You said not Congress. So what am I missing? You said congressmen shouldn't have Israel dual citizenship. So what are you referencing? Or what are you talking about exactly? If you're saying not Congress. You get to escape and run away after you screw up the United States. Congress shouldn't have dual citizenship, is what you're saying. So that's your contention, that they shouldn't have. I don't think that's a problem. So long as you're focusing on, you can't serve two masters. Yeah, sure. That is in the context of. I mean, I guess we can apply that maybe to your statement here, but I think ultimately you need to have America first as your everything. But in the context of using that as, talking about scripture here, that's talking about money. Because we know that even money is the root of all evil. Not that money is evil, it's the root of all evil, meaning that this is what drives people into essentially, insanity. But Ilhan Omar is more focused on Somalia and having Somalia first mentality. Say, who's the bot in here? I've been told that I am an AI bot. You can't focus when you have two countries. They take field trips to Israel several times a year. Well, I mean, it's not a bad thing to also still love your own country, your country of birth. That's not a bad thing. I mean, for the Christian, it's like this is where Christ walked. This is where Christ talked. This is a nation that needs to be preserved as it was thousands of years ago. Many of you disagree with the fact that Israel, or anything about history concerning Israel, concerning that time, that during Jesus' time or anything like that, but they weren't born there. You're right. Many of them weren't born there. However, they were removed, as God said in the scripture that he would remove them from the land because they weren't following God's commands. And they were scattered across to the nations abroad. But he then prophesied that they would then come back. Say, why not talk about Israel like you do Somalia? In what sense do you want me to talk about Israel? That anybody that has Israel first as their mindset and they have themselves involved into politics for whatever reason, we still need to have an American first mindset. It goes for everybody. Joshua Kelly say, because Israel and Somalia aren't the same. Yeah, you're right also. David, what do you mean? You say it doesn't feel like we're trying to play God. Doesn't it feel like we're trying to play God? I mean, the way they came back wasn't holy. Who's trying to play God here exactly? I'm just wanting to know more about what you're talking about. You think they'll look insane if they don't recognize, or rather give Trump the Nobel Peace Prize? I think everybody's going to cancel them straight up. I think many people are going to, this is going to be breaking for sure. Everybody's going to be talking about it. How radical, I don't know, Nobel Peace Prize is because they didn't give him the prize. I would be surprised. I would be surprised if he didn't receive the Peace Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize, because so many nations have already nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize. Guys, I want to thank you so much for being here. By the way, there's still many of you in this chat, many of you in this watching this show, and I'm so grateful that you're here. Honestly, we've gone over quite a plethora of topics, so many things to just talk about, considering free speech and everything that went down, things that are going down in the UK. We played that Christian video, or the video of the Christian who's trying to minister, and in his exact words, he's saying that I'm saying the words that the Bible talks about, or the very scripture that the Bible's saying. And they're telling him, look, you can't be doing this because it's causing people to become offended by what you're saying. And he basically goes on to say, well, talking about the Bible is not illegal. And they're saying, well, this is like a warning. Like, we literally live in these times where people don't want to hear the message, or the powers that be in any type of nation that is that has the Bible banned or restricted, where they want to make sure that this is not being proclaimed or this is not being spoken of to their citizens, because if they do, then they're in big trouble, because then there might be some type of, I don't know, call for righteousness, call for justice. Not another crusade. I mean, most certainly not. That's not what the scriptures talk about to, I mean, destroy your opponent that doesn't, I don't know, agree with your beliefs. No. We're called to love our enemy. We're called to walk in love. Things that are very, of course, high callings that are most certainly on the surface level hard to follow. Because who prays for their enemy? Well, Jesus said to pray for your enemy. God said. When Peter asked, how many times should I forgive? He said, 70 times 7. Mind you, this is the same number. If you multiply the number, it's 490. 490 is the same amount of years that Israel owes God for the rest, for not giving the land rest, the Sabbath of the land. God gave them provision for the land to say that you need to let the land rest, and I will supply for your needs when you do let your land rest. So God is essentially saying, forgive you like God has forgiven you many times for not giving the land rest. You say, then how did the Christians of the Crusades justify the Crusades? It's the same reason as to who had the scriptures, who was in control of the scriptures during that time, because literacy wasn't that great. And the availability of scriptures, as I've mentioned very many times, the availability of scriptures being an abounded book wasn't available like we have it today. So anybody who thinks, oh, this guy is so radical on the things that he's saying about the scripture, by all means, I say, go back to the scriptures and read it for yourself. You can open up your Bible. You can download the free app. You can download an app called Logos, and Logos will give you the original meaning and the breakdown of the language, the original language, Hebrew, Aramaic, or Greek, which is the 3 languages that the Bible is written in. And you can see exactly what the scriptures say for yourself. You can look at it, you can analyze and say, well, maybe what he was saying was true, but let me look further, let me look into the context. Valerie, thank you. You say, I love and appreciate your channel. I'll be back for sure. Thanks again. So proud for you, dude. Thank you so much, Valerie. Amazing. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. You know, if Jesus were to be here speaking to the nation today, America more specifically, this is interesting. I did this as a sort of a little play, you know, just to play around here. And this is it was a little weird, obviously, because this is not a prophetic thing. But I out of curiosity, I was playing with ChatGPT, and I was asking it, trying to figure out what would it have been. Don't know if it's in this account here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go. Basically, I was asking ChatGPT to pretend as if it were a biblical, like think in the mindset, the way that they would communicate. And prophesy to America as if you were a prophet. And I said in parentheses, not that you really are. And its output was pretty wild. But I think if Jesus were here today, he'd be like probably the ones who are, or how he was when he was overturning the tables, the money changers throwing them out of the, he fashioned up a whip. Jesus went hard. He was a man's man. He went hard. Yeah, I can't find it. I don't know. I don't know where this went. But anyway, it was quite an incredible video, or quite an incredible. I did a video about it. I couldn't. I think I have it on my laptop. I haven't even edited it because I don't know. It just didn't seem. Just weird. AI can be corrupted by evil. Yeah, of course. AI is being utilized in so many different ways. Sora too. AI is, gosh. Jesus was kind, but he always spoke truth to power. Yes. I think absolutely, President Clippy. I think if Jesus came to America, he would most certainly have many words to say concerning the political leaders. Especially the fact that you can't make it to heaven by being a good person or by making peace deals. But even in Jesus' day, what did he say concerning the Roman tax coin when they were trying to test him on taxes? He said, "Who's super inscription? Was it super inscription or super? What is it? Superscription." Let me read it for you. Oops. I think it's super inscription. So it says, "Then the Pharisees went and plotted how to entangle him in his words, and they sent their disciples to him along with the Herodians, saying, 'Teacher, we know that you are true and teach the way of God truthfully, and you do not care about anyone's opinion.'" Is that even true, though, that he doesn't care about anyone's opinion? God loves to hear us out. Even though he may not agree with our opinion, he loves to hear us out. It says, "For you are not swayed by appearances. Tell us then what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" But Jesus was aware of their malice, said, "Why put me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin for the tax." And they brought him a denarius, and Jesus said to them, "Whose likeness and inscription is this?" They said, "Caesar's." Then he said to them, "Therefore render to Caesar's the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." When they heard it, they marveled, and they left him and went away. Interesting. But why was this something that they marveled at? Because God owns it all. God is the one, if you've seen in scriptures, God is the one that sets people up into power, and God removes, so God places kings and God removes kings. So it all belongs to God. Caesar owns nothing. So he's saying, render to Caesar what is Caesar's and render to God's what is God's. God owns it all. When you look further, of course, into the New Testament, it talks about the being submissive to the the authorities that are over you. However, if this is antithetical to your beliefs that are causing you to or forcing you to denounce your faith in what? Christ, then you stand up to that tyranny. As the disciples did, as the apostles did, they constantly went against the political leaders of the time. You might say religious leaders, but these were most certainly also political leaders because they dealt with politics, considering taxes, considering all the different things. They were involved with the kings. They were involved with all aspects of the Jewish life. These Pharisees, the Sadducees, they were the ones that upheld the law outwardly. So these are the different things that we need to also realize, that these weren't just religious leaders. They were also political leaders. And they could not trap Jesus with his words. I honestly, I wonder, based on some of the comments here, if there are actually bots. How could we trip up a bot to say that it is a bot? Essay, you say, gotta go now. May God bless you all. Take care. Don't be weirdos. God bless you. I hope you come back and continue to debate and discuss in this podcast. Thanks so much for being here. You suppose that's why I'm going against the current administration. I suppose the Bible doesn't celebrate cruelty. It exalts love, charity, humanity, nothing I'm seeing currently. So you don't think maybe something like, I don't know, even the deals that are going on with making peace in other nations, or putting America first, cleaning up the cities, protecting the citizens, none of that seems to be loving or charity? Out of curiosity, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm honestly asking. Say surrender or face obliteration. That is the peace deal. So are we forgetting that they still have hostages that are living absolutely in the most cruel, constantly on the move, constantly being starved, constantly being humiliated? I mean, their stories need to be told. The gruesome things that they went through, so that everybody can see and realize how brutal Hamas is, that they're not people that need to be negotiated with. So, yeah, it is peace. Because you're eliminating the threat. You're eliminating the potential of the elimination of any future threats. That if so long as President Trump is in power, or somebody else that is going to enforce those rules, unlike maybe Biden, to let these things slip by so they can continue their attacks, even after Biden vocally on many occasions said, you guys got to stop this, and did nothing about it. You see, Jesus was in America first, and conservatives would send him to El Salvador, Gulag. Well, first of all, Jesus is a Jew, so they wouldn't send him to El Salvador, nor would Jesus be focusing on America at all. Because even then, in scriptures, when he comes back, he's focusing on who? The Jewish people, because why? Those are his chosen people. Jesus came into the world as a Jew. So your hypothetical scenario doesn't work. But Jesus would also be for those who are not breaking laws. Matika, you say, now, not when they're wasting taxpayer money, hiring people who don't know how to approach or work with the homeless. How is that helping them? How is giving out free needles helping addicts? It's wasting. So these are the local governments that are doing this. The local governments of the states in which this is happening is done by the mayors, the governors. They're the ones that are giving these homeless people needles and all this stuff to be able to do this. They have cities where they literally, you just see, and I saw a video today on social media. You see this all over social media. People recording the street here where there's just a bunch of addicts who are on, I don't know, some type of drug where they're just standing there, some with their pants down, some just slouched over. I mean, they look like zombies, and it's sad. What should happen is there should be the local governments, the states, the individual states that are to deal with those problems and to get them the help that they need. A lot of the veterans that need help, a lot of the homeless that need help, mental issues, whatever the case may be, that needs to be done by the local governments, because the president is going to exercise his authority to, as what people are saying, that he has no right to exercise his authority for sending the National Guard anywhere or anything like that. However, we have Gavin Newsom, who's, I mean, the stories that he's told, like even the story about Target, when this guy comes past with, you know, a whole bunch of merchandise, and the employee who doesn't even know she's speaking to Gavin Newsom, after he asks, like, why didn't you guys go and, you know, chase her down? And she said, well, stinking Gavin Newsom. I don't remember her exact words, but she was basically like hating on him. The fact that he instituted this law of they can get away with anything for, I think it was under 3,000 at the time. I could be wrong. This was a recorded video that is, I mean, I think still online. It was on a Zoom call. Charles, you think Jesus would approve of what Israel has done to Palestinian children? I think Israel would have a lot to say to the current Israeli government. I'll tell you that much. Whether it's in regards to Palestinian children, whether it's regard to their own people, there'd be a lot that he would have to say. The fact that they're not even following the commands, first of all, there's going to be a whole lot of things that Jesus is going to focus on when he comes and returns. He's going to rule with the rod of iron. But will also the nations be judged because of the things that they've done? As God says, vengeance is his. I mean, the Assyrians is where we have our modern day, or where the modern day torture methods of terrorists come from. The Assyrians were brutal. I mean, I don't even, from the stuff that we've discussed in this podcast, I guess I could explain it, but probably too gruesome. Now, I agree. We shouldn't be involved in any Middle Eastern wars. However, I think America has a sort of, I think any nation has a mandate to do what the sort of calling of Genesis 3:12:3 says, to consider it at least as to what they want to sort of conduct if they're being attacked or if they need help or aid or whatever the case may be. But should also be equal with other nations in the sense of not things that cause war or cause things to progress in a war footing, but to bring things back. But anyway, we're getting pretty close to 1 a.m. my time, just 2 minutes away. I'm going to end it here, guys. I want to thank you so much for those who are here. Please consider subscribing. Please consider going back and checking out the rest of the video on this live stream. It has been such an amazing, it's been an honor to be your host, of course, as always, to keep you level-headed on all the things, all the news stories that we're seeing. And tomorrow, well, actually today, we'll see if Trump is announced as the Nobel Peace Prize winner. And all the other news that then come out, East Coast, West Coast. God bless you guys. God bless you all. Zachary, thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a viewer, faithful viewer for those who have been watching for a long time, even those that disagree with me. Of course, I'm referencing you, YouTube Punk. You've been a long-time listener, long-time viewer. Zachary, B, Choco Puffy. I see you guys. I've seen that you guys come in here faithfully and chat, and that is all wonderful, and I really appreciate all that stuff, of course. SW, thank you. You said, just found you and subbed. Thanks so much. I hope you continue to enjoy the many different podcasts that we have always. Marianne. So many of you. Even you, President Clippy. I know there's a couple of things that we disagreed on this chat, but you guys are so awesome. This is what this platform is for, to discuss these things and to continue on with our disagreements, our agreements, and to just continue to talk through these things as we get to know each other, as we get to figure out how we can be a sort of force for change in the country in which we live, to be able to speak truth, to be able to speak and really, a new subscriber, welcome. So glad you're here. But don't take my word for it. Don't take my word for it. I say go and read the scriptures for yourself. By the way, somebody says Jesus was a Palestinian. We have to remember the origins of the name Palestinian, coming from Emperor Hadrian, which is a more modern sort of, I say modern, it still happened a long time ago, but a modern naming that we've given the names of the Arabs that live in that region, the coastal region of Gaza. Palestinian, so somebody had pointed out that Palestinian, the name Palestine, is referenced in the scriptures. However, it's not, because if you look at the original translation is in the land of the Philistines, the Philistines. That region has nothing to do with Arabs. They were absorbed. The group of the Philistines were absorbed into the surrounding cultures, and their people. The naming of the people became obsolete. So when Emperor Hadrian came along, because there was no sort of group of the Philistines anymore, then he named them Palestinians. But the original Palestinians were Jews. He named them that as a derogatory name. I can tell you that much. If you don't believe me, do the research. Don't believe my word for it. Check out the original language in in the scriptures. By the way, Jesus, King of the Jews. Yes, he is the King of the Jews. Even with Pilate said, I have said what I have said. Right? I have written what I have written. Whatever, when they were nailing the post as to his accusation as to why he was being crucified. Interesting. All that stuff is quite interesting. All the stuff that we can go through. The original Philistines were a tribe of Canaanites. Abraham migrated to Canaan in Genesis 16:3. There was no Israel or Jews. Yeah, Jews only comes after the name of Judah, from the line of the tribe of Judah. So all these different passages that eventually lead up to the name Jew, which comes from Judah, the name, that tribe. This is all historical information that we have to go through when it comes to scriptures. But otherwise, thanks so much for being here, guys. I really appreciate you guys for listening and sticking with me. You guys are amazing, and I pray that you guys continue to move this movement forward, this podcast forward, so we can be a force for the change, to change the hearts and the minds of the people, the young people in our own country, because they're going to be the ones to grow in a way that is going to be able to have these open dialogues. We can also be the force for change. We need to keep the dialogue open so that violence doesn't ensue. This is not a movement per se in the sense of like, I don't know, turning point. I'm saying in the sense of this community that we're growing here. I'm not trying to be legalistic with the language that I'm using. I'm saying in the sense that we're growing a platform where people can then talk about these various different things, a platform that I hope grows even greater than what it is now. To allow people to come on the platform, to allow people to communicate and talk and share their points of views and agree to disagree. So yes, thank you, Emma, for asking. And I'm glad I saw your comment. I appreciate it. So the agendas here, if there is any agendas, is to look for truth, to keep you level-headed, and to point out the lies where we see them, based on the facts that we can find, the facts that are available to us. So, thank you, Candace. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. Jesus is on the way. Most certainly he is. God is not slack concerning the promises. I'll say that much. This is in Peter. Amen, Richard. Thank you. Good night. It's 4 a.m. Gotta go. You gotta go. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Hippie. Appreciate it. Hippie Craig. You guys are awesome. Appreciate it. So keep sticking with me. Keep following this channel so we can see exactly all the stuff that we're putting out for you. And ultimately, any support to the Equally Yoked show will ultimately go back into creating better production and value and supporting my family. So if you guys do want to become a member, there's going to be a lot of things coming out as we begin to get support for the show so we can continue on this awesome thing that we're doing here. I really appreciate you guys for being here. And otherwise, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much. Let's stay yoked up.